Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I saw Douglas Murray write this article for the New York Post the other day, and look, I thought it was brilliant, so I wanted to share it with you guys. It was after the vice president debate, which was a rather interesting one. We saw JD Vance really just show up, as we all know that the man is cool, calm, and collected, and Tim Walz be Tim Walz, as everyone saw on full display, and wasn't, to me, it was rather worrying, but to a lot of people, they're going, oh, I love Tim Walz. I loved what he was about. Good grief. Anyway, so in the world that we're currently living in at the moment, fact-checking. Gotta love that. I had a post that I made on my Instagram account, and by the way, Instagram decided to let me know that their independent fact-checkers, whoever the they are, decided to go that the information that I put up in my post, which is actually Kamala Harris talking about being unburdened by what has been being a Marxist thing, evidently I was wrong, because these independent fact checkers are going, you're wrong. Funny that. Anyway, I don't really care too much because it was a story. It wasn't an actual post, but they saw that as being harmful to people. Misinformation, disinformation, man. Can't criticize a political person that is actually sharing lies. But anyway, fact check has just become another word for fact checking is like fake news, something that is now entirely in the eye of the beholder. At the vice presidential debate this week, which was few weeks back. Anyway, the CBS moderators once again tried to show that they were the fair and impartial people in the room, except that, as with the Trump-Harris debates, they only seemed interested in fact-checking one direction, against the Republican. On Tuesday night, the subject of Springfield, Ohio, once again came up. And once again, Springfield revealed one of the big problems of this media era. CBS's Margaret Brennan decided to fact-check something JD Vance said and immediately relayed a piece of false information herself. It's amazing to me because here in Australia, we have the misinformation and disinformation bill on the table, but the ones that are exempt from this bill happen to be the biggest spreaders of misinformation and disinformation of them all, being politicians and the mainstream media. But they've got an exemption, man. Not the Australian public. No. We're going to go after them because they're actually afraid of the public, I'll have you know. Following Vance's point about the number of illegal migrants, Brennan announced authoritatively that Springfield does not, in fact, have a large number of Haitian migrants, but that they have legal status and temporary protected status. It was then down to Vance to fact-check the fact-checker by pointing out correctly that what Brennan had just described was actually a pathway opened up by Kamala Harris explicitly to fudge the true levels of illegal immigration. How about that? Without his correction, viewers could easily have come away with the idea that there was no problems in places like Springfield because the stories of illegal migrants are untrue. And what Ohio actually has is just a large collection of people with legal status in the United States. At least Vance got a chance, albeit very interrupted, to correct his interviewer. When Harris used the presidential debate to make a set of verifiable, untrue claims, her ABC host repeatedly let her get away with it. For instance, they must have known that the big Democratic boogeyman, Project 2025, has nothing to do with Donald Trump or his campaign. Surely not. Nah, can't possibly be true, can it? Their idea, they constantly used it. Yes, Project 2025 is the worst thing in the world, even though it's got nothing to do with Trump, and Trump has said repeatedly he's not read the damn thing. But they let Harris make her claims anyway, safe in the knowledge that her ABC host would let her get away with it. This is such a counterproductive way to operate. It is one thing to show that Donald Trump was exaggerating or wrong when he talked about Haitian immigrants. It is quite another to go so far the other way that you end up pretending that places like Springfield do not, in fact, have found it impossible to assimilate numbers of illegal migrants living in their communities. Look around the media and you see the same problem everywhere. Much of the media will tell you that they regard their job as being able to decide what is true and what is false. But the problem is that most of them aren't any good at the task they set themselves. They're terrible at it. In Britain, the national broadcaster, the BBC, recently set up a special department called BBC Verify. Oh, don't you just love that? That is meant to fact check content across the media. But it can't even get the BBC's own facts right. On issue after issue, foreign and domestic, BBC Verify has overseen verifiable, untrue stories. I understand the panic in these media institutions. It is untrue, or it is true, that since the arrival of social media, the role of the media as the gatekeepers, as it were, of what is true has fallen away. On platforms like X, anybody can point to a piece of false information put out on the main news channel. At the same time, the eruption of the whole new set of media platforms has diluted the power of the gatekeepers, just like that. But the truth is that the new landscape is not so impossible to walk across as the BBC, ABC, and others seem to think. The public is wiser than it knows. I hope that statement's true. I really do. For instance, a story can be fake, not just because it is untrue, but because it is a story that is either published or not published in order to suit a particular narrative, which is also rather concerning about this new disinformation bill, because we don't actually know what is really misinformation and disinformation. Could just be a story. Might not be true. We're not trying to hurt anybody, but someone can take offense to anything these days. Take yesterday's front page story in the New York Post about Doug Emhoff. You would have thought that a story about the potential first husband, an ex-girlfriend, would be the sort of story that would interest all media. Nah, can't have that. But hey, we can say that he is an amazing man. He's the icon of masculinity, apparently. But many papers and channels are rooting for Vice President Harris and her husband. And so a strange veil of silence has been cast over the story by Democrats supporting media. If there was a time in the past when papers could snuff out such a story, that time has now passed. Today, readers can fight it anyway. But as they do so, the media won't cover it, look more and more transparent, to make themselves look more and more transparent, right? They won't do that. Why would they? And ever less trustworthy. I don't think they really care about whether or not they see themselves as being trustworthy, because they're in denial. It is the same with the latest October surprise with the unsealing of new evidence in the federal election case against Trump. When Judge Tanya Chutkan, I think, takes the unprecedented move of making public filings by prosecutors about whether a case should go forward, is the public actually persuaded by the anti-Trump media snapping into line? Maybe, maybe not. Giving Harris her newest line of attack. Or does the public in fact see through this, knowing that this is the sort of trick it was expecting in the month before the election? I think it is the latter. You used to know where you were with certain media. Not today. Today, with some papers, you still do. For instance, if you pick up this paper, you do so in the knowledge that the New York Post does not like crime and would prefer that it not run rampant in our city. But not all the media are so open about their views. And the ones that pretend to be unbiased or impartial are in fact the most biased and partial of the lot. Interesting what those priorities actually are. Hey, but I just love how Douglas Murray words things. He's a brilliant wordsmith, but he's also someone that I can rely on to tell the truth. More that I can say for the mainstream media today, that's for sure. Sometimes they get it right. A lot of the times they don't. Anyway, my friends, you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.